Good morning, everyone. I wanted to talk to everyone and share my experience about my scaphoid lunate injury, surgery, and then subsequent rehabilitation. Um, been scouring YouTube over the last month or two as I've gone through this journey, if you will, and wanted to share my experience with anyone else who's either considering having this surgery done um, or also in the middle of it, like I am. So, just the background, I hurt my left wrist catching some weight that was falling um, in the gym. And at first, it hurt. It definitely hurt, but didn't, to me, seem like a pain that warranted going to see a doctor. So I went a couple weeks without any follow up. And then continued working out, going to the gym. But the pain progressed and just got worse. So long story short, went to the doctor. They did x-rays. They did a physical inspection of the wrist and movement. And then we did an MRI. And then he looked at it and said, you have a 100% tear of the ligament between the scaphoid and lunate bones in my wrist. So I was very eager to get to the surgery and get it over with, just because that's just my personality. I wanted to get it over with. So prior to going to surgery, I'd always been, I am pretty active, go to the gym several times a week and run a lot. So I wanted to get this over with so that I could kind of pick up where I left off. So the day of the surgery, pretty straightforward. You go in, the pre-op, they performed what's called a nerve block, which was new to me. They shoot you in your shoulder right about there, which once it takes effect, deadens your arm completely from the right above the bicep all the way down to your fingers. You cannot feel a thing. And then they wheel you into surgery, and they then administer the anesthesia, which for me was propofol, which some of you may remember is the Michael Jackson drug that he OD'd on. Used to sleep every night. That anesthesia, aside from that one little incident with Michael Jackson, it really is very good. You wake up post surgery and you're awake. You don't feel drowsy or the kind of hangover effect that at least I've experienced in other surgeries that I've had in my lifetime. During the surgery, the doctor actually took, I have an incision right here, about a 3-inch incision right above the wrist, where they took a donor tendon from my arm, and then they used that to surgically repair the ligament between the two bones in your hand where the tear occurred. They then insert two pins, kind of in the shape of a V, in your wrist to secure the bones in place. And so that's the surgery itself. So post-op, the first 24 hours, not going to lie, pretty uncomfortable. And it wasn't so much from a pain perspective. It was more because of the nerve block is still in effect, and it doesn't wear off for about 24 hours. So the first night home from the hospital, very uncomfortable. It's just an unsettling feeling, at least for me, looking at your arm and having it in a sling, but you can't feel anything. So pretty crappy sleep the first night. After 24 hours, when the nerve block wears off, that's the good part. The bad part is then the pain starts. So the pain was pretty easily addressed through the prescription drugs that the doctor will give you. For me, it was oxycodone, I think is what they had. So you take that for 7-10 days, whatever your particular situation calls for, and that will help with the pain. Post-op, immediately post-op, they put you in a soft cast. It's actually a splint with just wrap around it, and that is for me, it was for 1 week, because they want the swelling to go down before they put the hard cast on. So I was in a temporary splint for 1 week. Then I went back to the doctor and got a hard cast put on. And over the next 5 weeks, I think every 2 weeks, I'd go back to the doctor. They'd cut off the cast. They would take X-rays to make sure everything looks good and is healing correctly and everything in order. And then they would put a new cast on. The pain just gets a little less every day. I am currently in week 5 of my recovery period right now. During the actual 6-week period of when you're in a cast with the pins in your wrist, I had been very, pre-surgery. I'd asked my doctor, can I work out, can I run, and he said, well, you could run, but you're probably not going to feel like it. And turns out he was right. With the pins in your wrist, with the weight of the cast, it's very uncomfortable, and sudden movements, at least for me, bothered me. So I just decided I wasn't going to run, wasn't going to exercise for the period of when I was recovering from the surgery. The other thing which you have to keep in mind is if you go into a gym and doing cardio during your downtime, you're going to sweat. You're going to get the cast and the padding underneath the cast will get sweaty, and it's just something you have to consider. I chose not to deal with it for the 6 weeks. The doctor also, after I asked, said I could get a waterproof cast after 3 weeks, but then he said it's not nearly as comfortable because they don't put all the wrapping underneath it. So decision you'll have to make. I chose sort of, I'll call it the lazy way, and just made the decision that I wasn't going to exercise during the 6 weeks while I was in the cast. So right now I am getting the 2 pins removed in my wrist in 3 days. What I'd like to do is I'll put a follow-up video post the second surgery and the pin removal and let you know. Then hopefully I'll document this as best I can during my rehabilitation. I'm incredibly anxious to get back to the gym. I know I'm going to have a lengthy rehabilitation process to kind of get back to hopefully where I was, just based on other videos that I've seen. So, more to come. But thanks for watching, and we'll give you another update. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. More than happy to answer.